Hey everyone, welcome back to Plugin Tut, your home for handcrafted WordPress plugin tutorials. And as always, I'm your host, Matt. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to build a website, first and foremost. As you can see up here on the screen, I have a domain that I've been sitting on for over a year, and it's podcaster.how. For over a year now, I've been thinking to myself, boy, I want to create either a membership site or a training course, that kind of thing, about starting a podcast and how do I want to do it. Because I do run a podcast over at mattreport.com and Plugged In Radio over here on this channel. And I have a lot of people always asking me, like, hey, can you come talk to our business and, tell my decision makers to start a podcast for my brand, or go to this school and talk about podcasting, that kind of thing. So I've always had these dreams of starting this training course or whatever. And I said, you know what, finally, I'm going to just throw out a quick site. I'm going to see before I even create the course or the training material, can I at least use it as a landing page for when people ask this question? I'll send them there. They can see the information that I can talk about. And then I'm going to put my Clarity FM link up there, and they can just hire me to talk to them on the phone. So this is sort of the concept of this is minimal viable product. Can I at least attract people to the content that I might want to sell them on? And number two, can I get them to pay me by just maybe hiring me for 15 minutes just to talk about starting a podcast and the ins and outs, that kind of thing. So we're going to make this basic looking site. And again, the concept here is not to go crazy. We don't want to go crazy. We just want to get a quick site up, and we want to prove and test the model to see if we can, actually get a business off the ground without actually having the product ready. I'm going to use Beaver Builder in this. I've been a big fan of Beaver Builder, continuously improving, and I'm really liking the stuff that their team is doing. And in this example, I do use the agency plugin, the agency license. I don't necessarily think I'm actually even using any agency modules in this or advanced modules. So even the free Beaver Builder, which I'll link up, will still work with this. But I also have a video about the 5 reasons why you should pay for Beaver Builder. And there's a lot of great bits and pieces in there. And actually, now that I say that out loud, yes, the thing that I am using is the Beaver Builder theme. You don't necessarily need to use the Beaver Builder theme in this case, but I did just to whip something together super fast, okay? So I already created, I'm using Pressmatic. I've have another video about Pressmatic on this channel that you can check out. It's for Mac only, and it's for local development of WordPress websites, or I guess any website if you hacked it and didn't use the WordPress part of it. But I use it for all the WordPress sites. And you can see here I have the Podcaster one. This is what's up on the screen right here. This is where I actually built the site locally, and then I used all-in-one migration to send it up to my podcaster.how WordPress website that I had installed over on SiteGround, and I use that to host the site, right? So I built it all locally, and just so you can see, this is, I don't have the homepage set right now because I just built it on the single page. So if I go to /home, that's the homepage there, and again, like I said, I scooped this up and I sent it on over to podcaster.how. All right, let's get that out of the way. So when we're starting the site from scratch, and I'm already in the customizer for this particular setup. So I'm actually going to close that just so you can see I have the Beaver Builder themes installed. I have the child theme installed because if you are going to go ahead and make some like CSS edits later on, or edits to the theme or the functions file, you want to make sure that you're using a child theme. If that's super technical for you, just leave a question in the comments and I can answer that for you. I don't want to make that the intent of this video. So I'm going to visit the site. I'm going to click on Customize. So again, I have a whole bunch of other Beaver Builder videos that sort of talks about using Beaver Builder theme, using the Beaver Builder plugin, and what's the difference in customizing the theme, look and feel, that kind of thing, separate from this. So first things first, what I thought of when I launched the site is, look, I don't want a full width site. I don't need this sprawling, beautiful marketing site. I just need something clear and concise that's just going to be almost like a sales landing page. I didn't want to get crazy with too many hero areas or big call to actions or beautiful fluid photography or video. I just wanted something fairly straightforward. So under the layout section of the theme, I just went to the box width, and that'll set the width of the site to not just be full width, obviously. So you can see here, I'm matching that up. And I even left the background gray, right? So no changes from that, right? So I just left it like that. So box content, because again, I'm not using these sprawling images. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. And let's go into the header section. And actually, first, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a menu. So let's go to the menus. I'm going to add a menu. I'm going to call it our primary menu. And I don't have any pages created, so that's going to pose a problem here. Let's just see. Oh, I do have a sample page. So let me add this and this. This home custom link will just link you back to the home page. WordPress does this by default. And then sample page is just the sample page that WordPress gives you in the beginning. So there's 3 menu locations that we can set up in the Beaver Builder theme. And the first one I'm going to do is just go into the primary menu and put that in the header. And I'm going to save and publish that. So you can see here that it puts the menu right here in the header. And the other thing I don't want is I don't want the search bar or the search icon in the top nav. So what I want to do is find the search where I always forget where it is. That's okay. I'll find it in a little bit. There it is. So disabled, I'm going to disable that nav search icon. And this is interesting. So it's super basic site. So there's only going to be 2 pages, but I can either do the menu button or the hamburger icon. And let's just take a look at that. So you can see this will be the menu button, or I can do hamburger icon, and that'll put it up right over here, and it'll do that. So I'm going to do that actually. And I'm going to go back to my desktop view. Next thing I'm going to do is just increase the size of my font size up top here. So I'm just going to call this podcaster.how. I'm going to bump this up a little bit, maybe something like 40. And I'm going to switch this. I can switch the font. I'm going to switch it to, I think what I used in my logo was Open Sans. I don't have the logo actually on this, but I can do that in a moment. And actually I did all capital letters. Whoops. Okay. And I could switch, if I wanted to, I could switch that to an image logo. I'm not going to do that because I just don't have that logo set up here. I guess I could just do this. You know what? Let's just do this. Why am I being lazy? Okay. Why am I being lazy? Let's switch that to an image. It's not the best image. I don't have a Retina logo for it. I literally made it in 10 minutes, not even. maybe 10 minutes, just aligning certain things here. So let's go ahead and there. Okay, there it is. Boom. And then I said, well, look, I want to match this sort of, black typeface. That's not a huge deal. So we go to the header layout. The nav is on the right. I'm sorry. So we go header style. We go text color is black. And you'll see that the hover or the text color is black, but that's all I have up there. The link color needs to be set to black, because these are going to be links. And you'll see that changed to black there. And then the hover color, when it's on active page or hover, I didn't want to be blue either. So I switched that to black as well. So now they'll both be black. Boom, boom. And let's go to the style. Sorry. The nav style. And we want to be in probably 24-ish. Nope, I didn't go that large. Maybe 22-ish. And then I also did uppercase, which stylizes it a little bit more because there's only 2 links. I think it looks good that way. You don't have to go crazy. You do the uppercase if you want. I mean the capitalize if you want. But I'm gonna go uppercase, and I believe I gave that a bold weight. It did. So you can bold it like that, and it's actually a different font too. So we're going to switch that to Open Sans. Open sans. I'm going to go semi-bold. Sort of matches the logo text a little bit there. All right, beautiful. So that's going to be the structure of my homepage. I'm going to have a contact page there in a minute, but just so we can see 2 items. And again, if we go to the mobile view, you can see with the hamburger icon, it drops down the menu and the logo still looks good. I mean, I don't know if I really like the hamburger. I didn't do that with the other one. I just did menu button. So let's just see. Yeah, I kind of like the stacked a little bit better. So I'm just going to leave that. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to hop into the settings of WordPress real quick, dashboard, and I'm going to change these pages while I have it. So I'm just going to do home and publish. I always like to just go ahead and publish my pages first, especially if I know what they're going to be, especially on a really basic site. I like to just go ahead and publish them all so that way when I hop into them to either add content or build the layouts with them, I can do that, and I'll just trash the sample page. I could have renamed that if I wanted to, but you know, I'm a purist. I like to start from scratch. And then I'm going to have to go ahead and change that menu. Of course, I just spent all that time with the menu, so let's just go ahead and get rid of the sample page from there, and we will add in the contact page. The home is always going to link home, and we're going to do that right now. So if we go to the reading section of WordPress in the admin settings, front page will be home, and I'm just going to leave that post page set to nothing for right now. So when I go to the home page, this is that home page that I just set up, and I'm going to go ahead and drop in Beaver Builder by going to the page builder. I'm going to say no to the tour because I've done it a million times, and I'm going to just use a blank template. Now, again, I could have started from, some other baseline here. Probably would have looked maybe a little bit sharper, a little bit more modern, but, there's something about a organically built site that just, maybe it's the, the lack of design where people actually believe it a little bit more. Like, hey, this is somebody who's really just building this themselves. And I really didn't want to mess around with removing elements. I just wanted to do something super quick, right? So the first thing I did was I added 2 columns. Let's go ahead and drop in 2 columns. And your mileage may vary here. It all depends on what you want to do. Now, remember, I'm using this little widget here from my clarity.fm. You could put in anything else you want. Traditionally, it might be a call to action button. Maybe that's what we'll do in this case because I don't feel like logging in to my Clarity website to pull that down right now. But you'll see here is now I have this row and then I have these 2 columns. And there's many ways to do different layouts in Beaver Builder, in web in general, right? Or page builders in general for sure. So there's many ways to do hero areas, and that's with an image in the background. But the first thing I'm going to do is hop on over to Unsplash. Unsplash is a great resource for collecting or downloading some free Creative Commons photos, and you are supposed to give author attribution to them on the website that you use it at. So I'm just looking through. This one is really cool. And the idea is, there's a lot of great photos or great images and photography that this site has. But what you always have to remember is, even though they're so great looking, will they look good with text on them? And I'm going to actually show you how to modify them a little bit so you can kind of make up for that. Now, if you're an advanced web designer, yeah, you might be going into Photoshop and adding some overlays to these images so that they look really good, or you might be shading them in different ways. But I'm doing this for the everyman and woman, and I really just want some good contrast. Let's see here. Spending far too much time on selecting an image right now, but they're also great looking. I mean, I just like to look at them sometimes. Let's go with this one because it has some bright spots, and I want to point out some things with that. All right, so Unsplash, background. So when we open this up, I'm going to open this up in preview first, just so people get an idea. Now, if you're building a website for the first time, you might be, wow, these images are great. I'm just going to go ahead and upload this into my website, right? No harm, no foul. If I look at the, adjust the size of it, is what I was looking for. This is 4,500 pixels wide. This is a massive image. It's 2.4 megabytes straight from unsplash.com. Now, if you were to load this up onto your development site, especially if it's locally with Pressmatic, you're not going to have probably much of an issue because you're loading it locally. If you were to load this up onto your website, and I'm hoping by, we're going into 2017 that many of you building websites know this already. But if you don't, you can argue you can find the right size. Now, I think what I did with this site was I think 1020 wide is the content area. I don't feel like getting out of that. So the first thing what I'm going to do is let's just go to 1200. And that'll shrink it down to 1200 width. And you can see right now we're bringing this down to 259 kilobytes. That is a dramatic decrease in size. Of course, you're shrinking this down and you're resampling the image inside of Mac Previewer. But right now we're already saving a ton, over 2 megabytes of bandwidth, right? So I'm going to go ahead and resize that. Hit the save button. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to head on over to tinypng.com. Now, there's a plugin for this. I think I did a video. I'm not really sure. I forget. I've done it on another channel before. But I'm going to grab that Unsplash background. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to upload it to TinyPNG. TinyPNG is going to do its magic. It's going to compress it, shrink it down. And I'm going to save 21% of that image. So now we're at 218 kilobytes. You might even argue you could resample this down even more, maybe through Photoshop or another app. And I think it's Image Optim will also do it. But for now, we're going to take what was almost a 2.5 megabyte image and bring it all the way down to 218 kilobytes. So I go into my row, back to the website. I go into the row, and this is going to be my hero area. And I hit on row settings. And the background is going to be a photo. And then I'm going to select that photo, and I'm going to upload the Unsplash background. And I'm going to select it. And I'm going to save. That way we can see it. Now you can see that it is taking up the entire background of that content area. And I'm going to have these two columns to introduce some text on top of it. Now, in this one, I say I'll teach you how to grow your brand and build an audience through podcasting. So I'm just going to copy this for now. And I know I'm not using the exact photo, but you get the idea. And I'm going to add some content. I'm going to go to the text editor in Beaver Builder. Again, this is straight from the basic modules. So you don't even need to have that agency thing. Again, you only need the pro version if you want to use this Beaver Builder theme here. And again, I didn't do much to it. I just shrunk it down and made some typeface changes. Whatever theme you might be using might do the job for you, right? Might not be that big of a deal. So I'm going to bring in the text editor, drop this in, and I'm simply going to paste. I always paste it in the text editor. That way I don't bring in any weird formatting. And as you can see, look how small that text is. That's fine. That's just regular paragraph text. What we're going to do is make this a heading 2. And I still don't like the size of that. So I'm actually going to bring this back to a paragraph. And then I'm going to make the selection through the font size. And I'm going to switch that to 48 pixels. Okay. Again, you can argue some SEO stuff here. Maybe it should be an H2. And if you're looking for different things to get indexed in Google or whatever. So let me just highlight that real quick. If you wanted to, I forget what the stock one was, maybe 16. Anyway, either way, let's say you wanted it to be heading 1. You'll see here, as you mess around with this stuff, HTML gets thrown in the back end. So let's just clean that up. That period back and highlight that heading 1. Heading 1 still might not be big enough for you, right? And if you ever find yourself doing that, that means you have to go into the settings of the theme or into some CSS and change that so that it is, bigger. So it does look like if I switch this back to paragraph and go font size 48, I think 48 looks bigger than that heading one. It also doesn't absorb that black background. So let's just apply that black background through the text color. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save there. So you can see, I'll teach you how to grow your audience, brand, and build an audience through podcasting. It doesn't have enough contrast, right? So you can still kind of lose it a little bit in these mountains. So how do we do that? Well, I can play with moving these columns around. So I might do something like, I don't know, 55, 45. And, you can see that you can see a little bit better. There's, now that it drops it down to another line, it's a little bit easier to read, but still not going to be the best way of doing it. So if I go back into the row settings, I can add an opacity or a background color to this this background image, and then a background overlay, and I can apply this to this image, and then draw some kind of contrast that way. So let's go ahead and do an overlay color of black, and you can already see how dark it's gotten. And then I can change the opacity. So maybe 30 is still too bright, or actually 30 is not bad, 25. And you might even argue that, hey, we probably want to go with a white font, right? So, or white font color. So let's save that. Click back into this. Highlight this. Change this to white. There we go. I really like that. I really like the white. And guess what? I can probably bring it this way. And let me go back into it one more time. I'm going to make it a little bit darker. Let's go 35. See how that looks? Did that change? Let's go 45. There it is. That's not bad. That's all right. I guess you could keep playing with it. It actually looks better with 4 lines. I'll teach you how to grow your brand and build an audience through podcasting. Beautiful. Now, let's work on our second column. Now, going back to the idea of web design and conversions and getting people to really get the message. It's probably not the best message. I fully admit there's probably some room for me to really work on this value proposition here. But again, I don't have the course ready. The idea is to just tell them, look, here's what I'm going to do with making a phone call to me right now. And even me looking at this, actually, I want to make that font. I want to make this font a little bit bigger. Let's do that. Whoops. Oh, it's because it's white. So Beaver Builder has this weird thing. I've noticed that if your font's white, it's going to be white in here because it absorbs the styles into the WordPress editor. It's a little annoying, but it is what it is. What I did was, what I did in that other site is I switched the headers to be H2s to be Georgia. So I'll do that in a minute. I will do that in a minute. So let's go ahead and drop in our button. So I'm going to add this button in here, and you can, like I did before, you could do something like the Clarity.fm widget and drop that in there, or you could do this call to action button, maybe a WooCommerce product, whatever it is. It could go right to a contact page. It could go to another sort of offsite payment purchaser. And for now, I'm just going to put a pound sign because the pound sign will just link it up to this this page where it's not going to go anywhere. So that's cool by me. And take a look at the style. So the button widget, again, great for these little sign-up forms. I can do things like round the corners, and I don't necessarily like the rounded corners, so let's go ahead and do straight, sharp square or rectangle, as it were. And let's make this 24 pixels on the font size, so it makes it nice and bright, or nice and big. And Another website that I like to use is flatcolors.ui, I believe is the URL. Whoops. It's just flatcolors.com. And I don't know, for sort of quick little colors, I like it to grab these. It copies it. I can come in and paste it in, and boom, we have a nice bright sign up now button. And even the text color, I might bring down to something like that just to give it a nice. I always go with this color almost like Amazon, right? So Amazon always uses a yellow for their buy now. So I will too. Beaver Builder also has little icons that you can drop in. This might be in the agency model, so don't quote me on that. And I can actually do the shop, and I can use that for a cart. That'll drop in, boom, right there. Looks like a great buy now button to me. And let's see what else we can do. We can go width. What does it look like if we go full width? Now it'll take up this entire, there we go. I like it. Nice and big, you can't miss it. You can't miss it. So save. So you might be saying, okay, well, how do we get this to bring it down a little bit? I actually might do something like add content, text editor, and drop to get started. Simply click the buy now button below. And turn that white. Boom, boom. That works pretty good to me. I get, I guess the other thing you could do is if you're trying to push it down, if you're trying to force it down, you could really go with some text areas. And I can go settings, advanced. You could play around with the padding on the top. Let's say, what happens when we put 100 and, whoa. Let's say 120. So you can maybe put a video up here as well. You can embed a video. You could, let's center this because it looks a little bit better if it were centered. That's not bad. It's all right. I mean, we're just playing with it, right? Let's go ahead and hit publish. I just want to take a look at this in the phone view. So it's very important to always check your mobile views as you customize things so that obviously you will know what it looks like when it gets down. So this is one thing that I don't like about using the font size at 48. It'll really make this a pretty big call to action area, right? So let's close this. Let's go back to the page builder. Let's edit this. Let's take it out of the 48 and let's make this, let's make it a heading 1. We're going to have to get rid of this HTML around it. Visual, select it, heading 1, give it a white color. So like I said before, in the case of this heading 1 not being big enough, well, what do we do with that? So let's publish this, publish the changes. Let's go to customize the theme. And let's go to the header section. Sorry. Let's go to the content section. And nope. I will remember this stuff. The text section will be the text for the entire body of the site, and the heading section will be for the headers that we have selected. So I selected an H1 here. Now, I know I'm just using this as a landing page, so you might want to think through all the headings of your site before you get into this. Otherwise, you would be targeting this specific module in your website and then writing custom CSS to target the H1 here. But in this case, I know I'm only going to be using it for this landing page, and I know I'm only going to be using it for right now. So I can increase the H1 here. And I could say for all headings, I want to use Georgia. And do I want to bold it? No, that's fine. That's fine. You might want to do line height a little bit tighter or a little bit bigger. Maybe a little bit 1.65. That looks good. Maybe if I did that, 1.65 is good. Okay, save and publish. You can also change the colors of your headings across the site there. Okay, so that's one quick way of changing the headings and then moving on. Let's go back to the page builder. Now in my live site, I did the same thing. I built another hero area, and what I did was I went and I just copied the section, or duplicated the section, so I can just duplicate it and then add in or get rid of the stuff that I'm not using. And then come in and do settings. I didn't want to use another image. So what I'll do sometimes is I'll pull colors from other areas of the site. I am not a graphic designer by any stretch of the imagination, as you can tell by this website. But what I did is I said, okay, well, look, this color here in the background of this widget, if I repeat it here, there's some, synergy, even though I hate that word, there's some synergy with the two. And it provides at least some level of contrast. So I use a color picker right in my browser. And I don't know, I'm just going to grab something here. Maybe something from the sky area. So let's just, copy that. That color is copied. I go into edit the row. Background color. Whoops, I actually got to switch this first from a photo to a color. And give that background color a color. So paste that in. Save. Let's see what that looks like. I don't love it, but let's just move forward and just see what happens. So this will be my sort of supplemental content or reinforcing what this site is all about. And in this case, I put how to become a podcaster, the online course. I just said the bad news is the course won't be ready till the end of January 2017. So people already know that there's going to be a course here at some point. The good news is you can hire me now through the Clarity FM link, and we can cover all the topics below. So that'll at least say, look, there's going to be a course here someday. If there's an interest in it, maybe people will contact me and reach out to me that way. Otherwise, they can take a look at what the course is going to entail below, and then we can just chat about it. We can talk about it that way. So let's take that content and drop that in here. So back to the basic module, text editor, drop in the text editor, paste in my content, highlight it, give it a white color. Just move that. It looks really small. So highlight that. And let's just make that 18. That's a little bit better. Bold, not bold, not bold. And save that. Okay. And again, 60-40. Let's go 60-40. 60-40. Here we go. And then what we'll do is we'll add in, all I did was throw in another sort of supplemental icon in the light of some really nice graphics. So that probably is, yes. In the advanced modules, that's what I did. Now you could do the same thing. You could just come in here and use a photo and drop another photo in there. I'm using the advanced module of the agency bundle of Beaver Builder, and I'm linking this icon to the contact page. So I don't know, let's just see a course. No. Let's go screen. Why not? Why not? We can give it a screen. We can link it to our contact page if we wanted to. We could give it a different color. I'm going to give it a white. And I'm going to say size is going to have to be pretty big. So it's going to have to be like 120. Center, it's actually going to have to go bigger than that. $165. Probably not the best icon to use here. But hey, it's not bad. One of the cool things with the icon stuff is you can, on the mobile structure, you can give it a different alignment if you didn't want it to be, to be what it is. Or on the responsive layout, you could just say small devices only, or large devices and large devices and medium devices only. I believe I have large and medium devices only that it's going to show up on. So it's going to show up on a desktop. It's going to show up on a tablet. But once it gets down to a phone size, it's not going to appear because it's kind of a useless sort of icon. It doesn't really do much. It sort of supplements this a little bit right now, but not tremendously. So I just like to go ahead and say, look, when it gets down to a phone, we don't really need to look at it. There's no need to waste that scrolling space for this icon. And we can just take a look at that one more time by going into the customizer and switching down to the phone size once that loads. And you can see once we get down here, you don't see that screen icon, and you should. Probably not on this one. It won't show up because this is if it were the landscape size, you'd see it. But it's certainly once we go back to the desktop, there it is. Okay. So that's our main call to action with a call to action button. Still don't really care for the way that I align this stuff. We can always tweak that later on. Secondary sort of supplemental content, a little bit more content, explains it a little bit more, maybe a supplemental graphic to help really convey the message. So let's go to our last major portion of the homepage, and that's the feature set. This will be tough for me to copy and paste all of this within a reasonable amount of time. But what I did now is I just grids, a grid of high-level module of what I think I'm going to set up the course as, and then I gave out the bullet points below that. This is a great way. If you watch my video on setting up a membership course, this is the way that I recommend you outline your course. The content of the course is so much harder to come up with than the actual technicals of building a course. So I went through and I wrote down all the modules that I think I was going to have, the 1 through 5, and then I just bullet pointed the different ideas. So let's just take a look at module number 1, for example. Why do you want to start a podcast? Number 1 is why, define why you want to start this. What are the goals? Is it money? Is it fame? What is it? What's the reason? And then who's the audience? Who are you going to be marketing this to? What kind of content is this going to be geared towards? That kind of thing. Then define your messaging in a show format. Fun, educational, witty, news, sports. What is that sort of messaging and format? Is it just highlights? Is it deep conversations? Is it quick sort of rapid fire stuff? What's it like? And then we really get into picking the topics for the show, asking the questions, setting that format. Do you do a lightning round, which is super popular? Do you take in listener questions, that kind of thing? And then let's pick a name. So in that first module, those are the types of ideas or lessons that I'm hoping to kind of go through. So I just wrote that stuff down, highlighted it out, bullet points, and that's what I'm going to roll with. And I just went through each module and said, maybe 5 courses or 5 lessons per module, right? So that gets us to 20 lessons. It's just a number that I came up with, and hopefully I stick to it as we move forward. So what did I do here? Well, back to rows, right? Back to rows. I did 3 by 2, so we can go 3 columns. Whoops. There it is. So 3 columns, and then I just duplicate that row, and then I have 3 and 3, okay? So I am just going to copy this, head on over to my wonderful text editor, drop it in, paste this in, and I'm going to save it. And then I just duplicated it 6 times. So I duplicate, 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 duplicate. I think that was 6, right? So I just drag these elements over into their rows. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't do it the 6th time. I did that last one. It's just an open editor, but that's fine. So that's it. I mean, if you're making a grid of content, that's fairly easy. And this actually doesn't look too bad. In fact, this gray doesn't actually look that bad compared to the black. So I'm actually liking it better than I like my own my own site that I set up originally, except for this stupid icon. But you can see here, you can just quickly go ahead and create these columns of features. It's obviously going to, all of this stuff is going to vary depending on your site setup. And then you come in here and modify the content. The extra thing that I did was, I made it a little bit bigger, which I think I did throughout the entire site. And I threw in some more icons, and you can do the same thing. You can come in, add the content, go to the advanced modules, grab an icon, drop it in. And again, you could do this with images, you could do this with regular photos, or you could use the advanced features of these icons. I don't know. I'm just going to select this one. It's the first one that I see. And then I'm going to put it in style. I am going to make it 60. And then I am going to center it. Oops. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Just going to duplicate it 6 times. And you could also choose not to show these on mobile as well if you didn't want to. Like if they were just a decorative thing, they don't really provide any value to it. They don't really represent what the features are in these sections. That's no big deal. You can hide that stuff on mobile too, but that's it. Now I can just add in those or modify them, whatever. Yeah, that's actually pretty quick, except for actually writing all this content. And I actually don't mind the look and feel of that. What I might do is just publish that. And I'm going to bump up the total size for the entire site. It's weird when you can hear my scratching my beard through the microphone. I apologize. Let's go to the, I always do that. I always go to the content section. We go to text, and we're going to make the default text size of the site 18. I really think that if you're doing anything nowadays, like 18 is probably a good number. 16, 18, anything more, I think, anything less, I mean, is going to be just too darn small, depending on what you're doing. And as you can see, I added that cheapo space area, and this is really driving me nuts, so we're going to fix that in a second. So now the font size of the entire site is bumped up from, I think it was 14 to 18, and I can adjust this if I want to make it a little bit darker, because now that it's bigger, we're not going straight black, but it's a little bit darker, and I think that looks really sharp that way. I actually want to move this over a little bit, so let's go ahead and save and publish that, close it, back into the page builder, and this I'm going to stretch out just a little bit. I think that looks a little bit better, and this I'm going to adjust. You know what, I'm actually going to remove that. That was kind of a cheap way of doing that. I can just do that with this one. You know what, actually that doesn't look that bad. Oh, maybe we'll add some padding to the top of that. So 40, just see how that looks. Did I not do that? Let's go again. Let's go 60. No? Let's go 80. Save. There we go. Beautiful. Much more sort of centered and aligned there. I do like that a lot more. Okay. Last but not least, the last module that I'm going to throw in is the call to action module. Again, this is something that is in the advanced modules, but you can do the same sort of thing with what I did here. So I could I could literally repeat this if I wanted to make this last section down here. I just happen to use the call to action module of the advanced feature set. So I just drag that down here. And what is the what is the call to action is? Well, it's just this predefined call to action look and feel. So it's this header. So I'll copy that, bring that in. And then it's this content below that, and I can copy that and bring it in. You know, it's just a way so you don't have to fuss with playing with spacings and dimensions to sort of lay this stuff out. And then it gives you the button so you can play with sort of the look and feel of the layout of this call to action as well. So again, if you didn't want to put a whole bunch of rows together or just one big column, you can kind of play with this a little bit. And what happens if I go stacked into the left? Oh, naturally. So I could have done this in the header, which has saved me some of this, back and forth in this messing around with the layout, or I can just use this. And matter of fact, let's just leave this centered right here because it feels more like a sales page. And then the structure. So structure, that's actually a really good word for these predefined modules, is there's some structure there and you're not messing around with it. But anyway, let's go to the heading tag. I'm going to make this an H2, which should bump that up, and it does. The heading size, you can change that. You can change the text colors if you wanted to. And the button, whoops. And the button is going to say buy now. I'm actually going to copy what I did before. I think I did a 1. And it's this sunflower color, new site, button color, background color. I don't remember what font color I used. It was something that similar to that. And I'm going to use the shopping cart again. So I'm going to go cart. Is that the one I use? I believe so. By now, I think I did 22 with this. So that makes that a little bit bigger, probably a 24. 26. Boom. Beautiful. Beautiful. So I'm going to save that. And that'll be my final call to action. So it's one of those things where they come to the site, they see the main call to action, and here's the quick value add. Boom, let me buy now. Here's a reason why. I mean, right now I said to get started, simply click now, but something that maybe another thing that initiates them to click the button. Some more supplemental content. I think I could play around with this a little bit more to make it a little bit tighter. The feature set, go ahead and add those feature sets. Like I said, I didn't have a 6 module here, but what I did is I put this contact. Again, this is just another way of contacting me. So I have a contact at the top, contact in the middle, contact at the end. And again, on this one, we're doing the same thing where we're just reinforcing, look, any other questions or anything else you want to do to contact us, go ahead and hit the call to action button. That'll do it. That'll be that last sort of reinforcing on the homepage. Pretty darn easy. And I actually kind of like this one a little bit more. Maybe I'll revert to it. Maybe I'll revert to it over my existing site. Maybe I'll definitely do the buy now buttons once I actually have the course set up. Otherwise, I don't mind the headphones, but I really do like this hero area. That's me anyway. Okay. On the contact form plugin, I just go to add new and I use Ninja Forms. I do have a bunch of videos on contact forms, so check those out on the channel. Ninja Forms being one of my favorites. Go ahead and install. It's actually a tie between Ninja Forms and Gravity Forms. For whatever reason, whenever it's on localhost, it does take a little bit longer to install and activate. I always found that weird. Maybe it's just the way that it communicates through localhost. So hopefully this works. Should. I've never had it fail. But it could. It could live on video. Nope. So we're going to hit activate. I'm not going to add any other plugins except for the actually the all import or all-in-one migration. I'm going to close that for right now. And I'm going to go add new and do all-in-one migration. And this is the plugin that will install it first. This plugin will scoop it up and you can import it into another site. Free version works for any sites under 500 megabytes. And if you wanted to sync it up to other like file delivery services like a Dropbox or Amazon S3, you could do that as well. So I'm going to go grab the form. Contact form. The default contact form is this one. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go to my pages. I'm just going to drop this on my contact page. And Ninja Forms has a nice little basic contact form. I already set it. Oops. Got to make sure we do that in the text field. So Ninja Forms has a nice little contact form already set up for us, so not a big deal. Just got name, email, and comment. Right? Let's take a look at that. Yeah. Name, email, and the message, and they can just submit that. And then the all-in-one migration, just to show you how it works. When I'm all done, ready to go, what you can do is come in here and say, look, what is the name of it? Well, the name of it right now is newsite.dev. And actually, you might not even have to do that with this new version of the Migrate plugin, but I still do it for good measure. It's going to replace anything that finds newsite.dev, and I'm going to replace it with podcaster.how, which is the live domain. And then I'm going to export it to the file. It's going to download it. And then when I go to my new WordPress site, I install the all-in-one migration plugin. And I spit this right up there, and that'll load this site as it was built here locally. So it makes that migration process super easy. And then just a quick way to build a website. I hope you enjoyed it. A little bit of rambling, I totally understand. But I hope you had fun either way. I hope you learned something. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoy videos like this. I'll keep making them as long as you keep upvoting them and leaving questions and comments. It's plugintut.com, youtube.com/plugintut. We'll see y'all in the next video.